What's up, everybody? My name is Stuff is Stuff, and I'm here with the very first This Week in Retro interview. Today we have Joe Pulito, an amazing speedrunner, musician, and family man. So let's get into it. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome. As you know, my name is Stuff is Stuff, and we're here with This Week in Retro's first interview, Joe Pulito. Yeah, this is going to be a fun time. I'm already having a fun time. We've been talking for a bit already. Having a blast. How you doing, Joe?
Good, man. How are you, dude?
Good. Just as we talked about, waking up with our coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. I got my rad mug here.
What's on there? Oh my gosh, is that all NES?
All the NES black box games.
That's
I have
cool.
a extreme soft spot for the for that era of NES stuff. So
there is something about those boxes too. I mean
that was like my first, into video games. So I think that's why it kind of holds that spot.
Yeah,
but I think the games are kind of hit or miss, I guess, from that era, but it's still kind of dope, the artwork.
For sure. What is your earliest gaming memory?
So I was trying to piece it together, but I think my dad brought home like the original NES in like '85. So I grew up in New York, in Queens, and this I figured out afterwards. But like I guess the NES did a test market before they went nationwide in the U.S.
Interesting.
And they just did the New York market in like the fall of '85. So I think it was like Christmas '85. He brought it home, and it didn't even have Super Mario Brothers. It was the original Pac-Man with Rob the Robot, and like Gyromite and Duck Hunt. So my first memories are probably Duck Hunt or Gyromite, with the friggin' Rob the Robot doing its thing, and the Zapper. So
that's so cool. I've still yet to have like actually used Rob the Robot in person.
Oh, it's a trip, man. It needs like 15 D batteries to get going, and it just like it sounds like a lawnmower. It's like it's
so don't use it to stream.
no. And like I think like it's actually way easier just to use both, like two controllers with two different hands and just do it that way.
Oh, okay. Smash TV like that way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the only way Smash TV is playable on the NES.
It's tough. It's a tough one. Yeah.
So then growing up, did you guys always stay down the Nintendo route? I know there was like console wars and
it was rough in the early 90s, late 80s, man. But yeah, no, it was I definitely stayed with Nintendo the entire time. But there was a time where like, all my buds were getting Genesis and I was like, do I need to jump ship here?
Yeah.
And then it kind of like, and then I think I vividly remember the moment I was like, no, I got to go with a commercial or stick with Nintendo. Like I saw a commercial for the Super Nintendo, and it was Super Mario World. They were advertising Super Mario World, and it was that scene where that part of the game where he gets a key and he puts it into like that black keyhole.
Yeah.
And the keyhole kind of goes up and then kind of woo. And I was like, that looks so dope. I don't care what Sonic's doing, but this is way cooler. And I'm gonna stick with my dude, Super Mario.
That's awesome. It was tough back then being a kid because like I get it. You made a decision. You had to stick with it. You're like, nope.
Yeah.
I'm Genesis or I'm Super Nintendo, and like my decision's right because I made it.
I mean, the good thing was like what we kind of like me and my buds growing up. Like my one friend had a Genesis, so it was like, all right, if you get a Super Nintendo, I'll have the Genesis, so we can play both and kind of like go back and forth. And it was like we can experience both, So that's kind of what ended up happening.
Yeah, my neighbor, so I had the Genesis, but my neighbor had the Super Nintendo, so it was like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, for sure.
Like trade consoles, like, all right, let me borrow your Super for a week,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was awesome. And there was a kid actually. The only person I knew who had a TurboGrafx 16 was like that. My friend's neighbor.
Oh wow!
And I was like, what is this thing? Because it was like so foreign. Like people had it, I guess, but like he was literally the only person I knew who had one.
Yeah.
And I remember just like, yo, Bonk's Adventure is kind of tight, but like and the card, like it was like on a card, like
that
it
was
a totally
the trip.
different thing. And I was like, what is happening right now?
Which I don't know if because I know the Master System had cards
a
as
similar type
well, but
thing.
I don't know
Yeah.
if which came first. In my mind, TurboGrafx was the first I knew of being on cards.
Right. I
Like I was
think so.
unaware of the Master System stuff then.
Yeah, I only knew one person who had a master system too. Like the same thing. It was like a girl I went to school with.
Yeah.
I remember like I had to go over her house one day after school, like my mom couldn't pick me up or whatever. And I was like, what the heck is this thing? And I actually found out like because I had this vivid memory of the game I would play because she only had one game, but I didn't know
Yeah.
what the hell it was. And I tracked it down based on like the little memories. It was Alex Kidd.
Ooh, what a good
Which
first game on that system
which was
too.
like, and I loaded it up, like a year ago just to kind of like, and I was like, oh yeah, this game's kind of hard though. It's like a one hit kill game and like, but it was a dope platformer for sure.
Yeah, there was a point where I was like, I want to get all the Alex Kidd games because my name is Alex,
Yeah.
so I should get them.
Yeah.
Like I feel obligated.
You have to. You just kind of have to. Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. So then, I know you started making music. Were you still playing games throughout the whole process?
No. So the last system I had was an N64, which I got like probably right when I started high school. And at that point, I would play it a decent amount. Like I had like a few games. I had Star Fox, which was like dope.
Yeah.
The N64.
Oh yeah.
And Mario 64 was like a game changer. And then like Wave Race was like the game was so dope, man. Like it's just like this looks crazy.
Yes.
Nothing looked like that at the time. But then I started getting into music and I got into like I think I told you before, I started getting into like the DIY punk scene and stuff like that. And then I started playing in bands and touring, and then kind of all that kind of went by the wayside for like, I don't know, 20 something years.
Dang.
And I really didn't start like rekindling, stuff with video games until COVID started and everyone was on lockdown.
Wow.
That's when I started kind of like revisiting the old stuff. And then like my family got a Switch, like my wife was really into video games, but so we got a Switch for like, during quarantine. It was like, then it was just game changer. So my son started getting into it and I started showing him all the old stuff I had and taking things out of boxes and
that's so
going
fun.
from there. So I missed out on like a good 20 plus years of gaming. I just had no idea. Like basically anything after the N64, I know nothing. Like I got no, I didn't know anything about it. So,
but you had your old consoles and stuff. You kept a lot of that.
I still had all that. I'm kind of a pack rat when it comes to that stuff. And I got them all, like now I have them all set up and, like they're working and ready to go. So my son wants to come down and like play one of these old systems. You can pull a card off the wall and just plug it in and go. Yeah.
That's awesome. Does your son play the old games then?
Yes, he likes the Mario stuff for sure. And he was young, when COVID first started. So he was like, I'd load him up to like the Mickey Mouse Safari Land and like with the letter games and the number games or whatever. Like, and he was like, this is great because you can't really die in those games either. Right. So like he's just kind of like he's just running around collecting stuff and just having a blast,
That's awesome.
So yeah.
And then so you're making music. How long did you make music for? You said 20 something years.
Yeah, I was playing in bands for about 10 years and touring full time and stuff like that. And then I kind of parlayed that into being a tour manager for a while. So I was still out on the road. Right. And then, that kind of ran its course and I wanted to kind of get settled in a little bit more. So I started working at venues and booking, I always kind of book shows and, so that's kind of what I do now. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's been a while now. So.
And then, so you rediscovered your old consoles.
Yeah. So
how did you end up? Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So like with speedrunning and stuff, that's definitely something I never thought I would ever do. When quarantine first started, everything was obviously just crazy, but that's how I found Twitch essentially. Nice. A lot of there was a band like, their shows got canceled and this band went live on Twitch one day to stream their record release show into this giant empty venue. And I was like, all right, Twitch, cool. I got to sign up for an account or whatever. And I was like, and I knew what Twitch was, but I literally thought it was only like a bunch of bros playing Call of Duty and like calling each other like homophobic stuff. I was like, this is not my thing.
This is, yeah.
I'm not, it's no thanks. But I was definitely like misinformed because at that point, like I watched the band play and then I kind of started getting hit with the algorithm started kind of throwing stuff at me. Cause at that point I was starting to kind of like get the old consoles going. So I was watching videos on YouTube and gaming historian. You familiar with
No,
him? So this guy, his name's Norm, and he does these incredible videos on
making
the
notes.
history of on on all this stuff. And he that kind of like was like, I was like, wow, okay, this stuff is like, because I like history a lot and I like video games a lot, especially the retro stuff. So I was like, that led me down this path where I started getting hit with other algorithms of stuff, and I got hit with Arcus.
Nice.
And
Okay.
I was like, okay, so I was like, wait a second, is there a dude in a cowboy hat playing Ninja Gaiden really fast? Like, what is going on right now? So then I followed him on Twitch, and I started watching him, and like the chat with like, there's like 1,000 people watching him, play Ninja Gaiden or play whatever he was doing at the time.
Yeah.
And like, just like the chat was going, and I was like, it was like a whole nother language. It was just like crazy. Like, I don't know what any of this stuff is like. And it just kind of snowballed from there. So I watched some of his stuff, and he'd rate other people, and I kind of like just started watching more and more people. I did that for a few months, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna try and do this. And I was very slow with it. I was like, let me just like I was telling you earlier, I was like, I don't even know how to like get my computer set up to do this. So I
Right.
started like, I was like, let me ease into this, like, really, because also like I'm not like, I'm not like a center of attention type guy. So like, it's literally what it is. Like, you watch me play video games. Like, like this is this is weird.
It's the internet equivalent of having your friend over.
Yeah, and that's kind of what
But you don't have
that's
to
what it
take
started.
turns now.
Right. It was so like, I was like, all right, this is a little strange, but let me just kind of ease into it. So I started like, I think the first game I ever ran was Ducktales, which was like a
That's
game
a
I played a lot as
great
a kid.
first run.
And yeah, it's like, it's relatively quick in the grand scheme of things. And it's like, let me just go live, let me hit a timer and just play the game.
Yeah.
And if I die, I die. Like, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna try and do all these crazy strats or anything. Let me just see. Like, I'm not gonna try and do that moon glitch that I saw. I was like, that was like sorcery to me.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like this? How did that even? I'm like, nope. I'm gonna go all the way up to the top. I'm gonna get the key, and I'll come back and I'll deal with this later.
He's talking about glitching through the floor, where you take the
Yeah,
hit.
yeah. I was like, that's just like crazy to me. So yeah, I started doing that, and it just kind of like little by little, and from there, I ended up on Discord because there was like a Capcom Disney afternoon Discord channel or whatever,
Yeah.
group where they were talking about DuckTales and the other games. And I ended up connecting with, I think it was just chatting one day and with Knucklebuster.
Nice.
And so I went to his channel and watched him, and then he rated me one day. And that was like the first time I was like, why are other people here? Like, this is weird. But
I'm used
that
to
was
doing this by myself.
yeah, I'm like, what? There's like 8 people here now. This is weird. And from there it kind of started growing. And yeah, like Knucklebuster was crucial for that because, and that was weird because he's like legit. Like,
KB's
he's
fantastic.
really, yeah,
He's a
like
great
he's on a
writer.
whole nother level too. And it was like, why are you coming to hang out with my silly ass? Like, you're like, doing all these records and like playing Ninja Gaiden. Like, I'm just kind of like limping through DuckTales. Like this, we're not on the same level at all here, man. But my joke was like, because he brought all these Ninja Gaiden runners who are, they're great and they're awesome. It's a great crew.
Yeah. That's
But
actually
my
where I
joke was,
started. That was my first run, was Ninja Gaiden. So that was the
okay,
community.
so
Yeah.
that's heavy hitters, dude. That's a legit game. Like, but I thought it was funny. My joke was like, they just all come over to me for like a straight palate cleanser. When
Yeah.
they just want to like, just be like, I need something not Ninja Gaiden and not intense. Like, you come hang out with Joe and do that. So,
That's fair. That's
yeah.
really cool. It's funny because I had never, like, I'd played DuckTales as a kid, but of course not in any speedrun sense. And then
Yeah.
Big 20 started and I was trying the games, and that's the first thing I thought when I started learning. I was like, this is the perfect first speedrun. Like, if people are looking to get into speedrunning, this might be the game. Like,
Yeah,
there are still
it's like
glitches you can learn, but it's like, yes, it's very execution. And
yeah, it's like there's a ton of RNG with the bosses too, and it's like, but I remember the first time I did the moon glitch.
yeah.
That was a game changer. I was like,
I made it.
I've made it. I made it. I'm legit now. Like, I did this one silly glitch. Look at me.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
so you started speedrunning Ducktales, and then like
Yeah. So then I think then it was really just kind of like I really like had a small list of games that I played a lot as a kid that I was like, all right, let me just do the same thing that I did with DuckTales. Let me just
learn to
hit
beat
start on the
it. Yeah.
timer. Let me just see how long it takes me to beat this game. So it was DuckTales, and it was like Super Mario 2, Super Mario 3, Super Mario World. I think the first game I played that I didn't play as a kid was DuckTales 2, because I was so ingrained with DuckTales, and then I learned a DuckTales. I was like, I didn't even know DuckTales 2 was a game. But
Right.
when I watched the runs, I was like, okay, it's the same exact like mechanics and
But they
everything. So let me
fixed the
just try and
pogo.
yeah, I'm like, let me just do another version of it,
Yeah.
And that was super fun. That was a really fun game. Um, yeah, and then I forget what happened after that, but I did like kind of like a handful of like the basics that I knew, pretty well. And then I kind of learned this again, like I was such a noob to this stuff. I learned that like Japan had a whole different thing going on than the US did in the 80s and 90s. Like there was like there was games that came out in Japan that didn't come out in the US.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's intriguing to me. So I found this game, Hammer and Harry,
I've never played
which is
it.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was an arcade port. It's like a 2D platformer, only released in Japan, and you're technically Europe, sorry, but like it wasn't released in the US.
Right.
And that was the first one where I actually like grinded it out, and like I'm gonna try and like figure this out. And it's a quick one. It's like 5 stages. I think the run is like 7 to 10 minutes, depending
Oh
on
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a
And
good
I was like,
length.
and I just like really grinded it out. I did like 3 different categories for it. And then it was the same thing. Then I found out minor hiccup. All right, so Goonies. So that
Yes,
was
Goonies.
another Japanese game exclusive that again I didn't know existed. I knew Goonies 2 from growing up, was
Right.
and that was kind of like thing. I was like, all right, so why is there a Goonies 2 but not a Goonies 1? Like, and I just did a quick like research and like, wait, so there was a Goonies 1. It only came out in Japan for home consoles. I was like, I
Yeah.
got to play that game. And that game was sick. I love
Really?
it. Yeah, it's really great. It's like a simpler version of Goonies 2, which I'm okay with because Goonies
Mm.
2 is tricky, and like all the like the menuing and all like going into that like RPG style type, like that
Right.
doesn't exist in Goonies 1.
It's
It's
just
more just kind of
platforming.
like platforming and a ton of RNG. So that was another one where I just like dug in really deep, and I did like all 3 categories, and I like grinded it out and like did it for a while. And then at that point, it was like, all right, so there is a ton of stuff that I don't know about, haven't experienced with gaming, just missed out on over the past 20 plus years. And not even during that break period, like even just when I was a kid, there's just so much that I missed out on.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I need to play as many games as humanly possible,
Try to catch up. You're like,
yeah,
what did
and
I
catch
yeah.
up. Yeah, and like, what's the most efficient way of doing it is speed running them in theory.
Yes.
So that's kind of what I set out to do. And for me, it was just like I'd go online every day and I'd find like 20 games that I wanted to try and speed run. It's like, all right, I gotta like kind of like keep this organized, or else I'm gonna be
Right.
hopping all over. So I started kind of like setting goals and like putting them in different categories and different sessions and things like that. And that's kind of how I've kind of approached it so far.
That's super
So
cool. And so
yeah.
it's just crazy. Do you know how many games you've have on SRC?
Yeah. So as of last night, we're at 563 games I've
That's
speedrun.
crazy. So you've submitted 563 different games.
Yeah, so
And
that's
that doesn't even
the
count
game.
like obsolete runs that you've beaten times for and like
Right. That's like a around that's like closing in on 1,000, I think, like total runs submitted. And like there's like I think it's like 709 categories
oh
total, but
wow.
like for those games, like I've done 700 categories, and I've
Yeah.
done them across 15 different consoles so far.
That's what I was wondering. So because you started primarily with NES
Yeah, because
and
that's what I
like
kind of had. Yeah, then I kind of did the Super Nintendo, and then I did Game Boy stuff. Because those are the
yeah,
3 consoles I probably played the most, as a
right.
kid. And then it kind of expanded out to, or like earlier stuff and then later stuff. Like I did Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance, and then I went back to Atari. That's like a system I never really had any experience with. I was too young.
Yeah.
I did that. I did the ColecoVision, which was another one where I was like, this is this is dope, but I just never knew it even existed. Like there's some really fun stuff on here. And a lot of the stuff from those systems are kind of like the two favorite genres of speedrunning for me is like 2D platformers and like arcade high score type stuff. So
Nice,
like
okay.
the high score of the game is like 25K. Like how quick can you get to 25K? So like the arcade stuff like Galaga and Miss Pac-Man and the Pac-Man stuff. And then like for the Atari, there was like a ton of those types of one loop arcade type categories or high score stuff. So there was
looped. It wasn't like
they go forever.
They
go forever. Yeah. So like I love that kind of stuff. So like the Atari and ColecoVision had a ton of that stuff. And then I dove into the Sega stuff. So basically I kind of like had this, like I would call them quests, and I'd be like, all right, I want to get to 200 games, or I want to get to 500 games. So the last big one I had was 500. I was sitting around 300. I was sitting at 390. I was getting close to 390, and I was like, there's a bunch of systems I want to kind of expand out to and try and do. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go, my goal is 500, and I'm going to do it over 11 different consoles to get to that last 110 games.
Yeah.
So then it was like the Atari, ColecoVision. Then I dug into all the Sega stuff.
Nice.
So that was the Sega Genesis, the Sega Master System, and their first home console, which did not know existed, was the SG-1000. Steve Zero turned me onto that.
Nice.
He's like, yo, dude, you got to check this out. And I checked it out. I'm like, yup, this is right up my alley. Like this is dope. And there's a ton, like there wasn't even that many games on SRC at the time. So like I added a bunch of games too.
Nice.
So which is, what I like to do too, because there's a ton of stuff that isn't on SRC. So I'll like, I'll bite the bullet and like get that first run, and kind of submit it and go through the process and be the mod and do all that stuff. So yeah, and then I think yeah. Then with that, when I was getting to 500, I added some more quote unquote modern consoles for me.
Okay.
The N64, and I busted out a GameCube as well.
Nice.
To do some GameCube stuff.
What did you run on GameCube?
That is a good question. I
have some games. I can't remember everything.
I mean, there's literally. So I was trying to figure out new games to play for the NES. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, there's this Famicom game, F1 Racer, that only came out in Japan. I was like, yeah, let me. I've been meaning to get to that one. Let me go give it a shot. So I loaded up on the emulator, and I'm like, okay, let me go to the board and let me figure out the rules, and I'll play around with it. I'm like, yep, already have a run on the board for this one. I just literally completely forgot I played the game. Like it was like, oh crap. All right. So we're at that point now.
Yeah.
But yes,
spreadsheet. Now you have to search it to make sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So so GameCube stuff. All right. I did the Mario Kart Double Dash. Yeah. I did. Forgot about this. I did Donkey Konga.
Oh yeah, that game's really fun.
I did that. Fun. There was a really cool Pac-Man game called Pac-Man Versus. I did Super Monkey Ball, which was pretty intense.
Great. Yeah, it's Marble Madness, but with monkeys.
Yeah. That was like, I was like, I am way out of my league here with this game. Then there was a Legends of Wrestling. There was a Wave Race game for GameCube. Yes. I did that. Yes. And there was like Super Bubble Pop. That was a cool one. Yeah, there's just,
which is
there's like a random
move.
Yeah, kind of like that. And there's like a random hockey game, NHL Hits.
Nice.
Just really random stuff. But yeah, that was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, just to branch out a little bit.
Oh, I did Virtual Boy too. That was the other one.
Oh wow,
Virtual Boy stuff.
At that point, you're like, do I just run all the Virtual Boy games?
Many, right? There wasn't that many. There's maybe like 15. I think there's 20 total. But yeah, I did about 10 of those.
Nice.
I try and get to like 10-ish at first. Like where I kind of dip my toe in for a new console. Try and get around 10-ish.
Do you have favorite runs for each console that you can recall?
Like the NES, like the Hammer and Harry stuff is probably my favorite. The Goonies.
I'm gonna have to check that out. Hammer and Harry.
Yeah, dope game. And then like there's like the other stuff that I got into, especially on the NES stuff, was the homebrews. That was a whole can of worms that I wasn't ready to open at first. I was like, let me just figure out the license stuff that I want to play first, and then like, because some of them were so dope, I was like, they look great, but let me just hold off, and then I couldn't hold off any longer, and oh man, the homebrew stuff is so fun.
Yeah.
Just the whole idea of it that that people are still creating games for these dead consoles. So awesome.
And even like,
Such
not only they're making games for these dead consoles, but they have more knowledge about them. And now they have the knowledge
yeah,
about the consoles and the knowledge of new games, and they can make these
yeah.
crazy things.
It's absolutely incredible. It's a labor of love. I know, like it's just it's so cool, and some of them are just like fantastic. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would have like played like if I was a kid in the '80s, I would have played the crap out of these games. You know, even back then. You know, like it's just so cool. Um, but yeah, it's tough to narrow down exactly like the my favorites from each console. But like there's a ton of stuff. And then recently I did this charity stream a couple weeks ago. Um, where I did 50 games. I speed ran 50 new games.
Oh, I saw the VOD. It was
Uh,
like 50 and 1.
yeah, yeah. So basically, I hit the 500 number, and I was kind of like cleaning up some of those runs and like doing some stuff. And I was like, I always wanted to do kind of like a long quote unquote stream. Long for me is more than like an hour.
Right.
So because you just don't
Yeah.
have time to do it.
That's fair.
So I was like, so like you know, I had to coordinate with my wife and you know make sure she could watch the kid for a little bit because I was like, I don't know how long it's going to take to do 50 of these. But I did them. I do 10 different consoles.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did 5 games per console. And they were all new runs I never did before.
That's even crazier.
So I did that. It took me about 6 hours, which is not that bad. Which I felt pretty good about. Yeah.
Considering.
But I added a new console too during that. I started doing PlayStation stuff.
Oh, wow.
Which is a console I had zero experience with. My wife had one. She was stoked on it. She's like, you got to do PlayStation. Like, all right, well, I was like, I don't even know where to start, you know? So I did that too, which was fun. So I did, yeah, it was great. It was for suicide prevention and we raised like over $1,000. It was like really rad.
That's
cool
awesome.
Experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then do you remember your 500th game?
Yes, Legend of Zelda.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I did this really fun category called Magical Sword.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar.
So it's basically you know Legend of Zelda. So it's like you know you got the wooden sword, you got the silver sword. I think is the second one.
It was always
the white one.
White sword in my
yeah. I don't
actually know.
Terrible. Yeah, and then there's the third sword, which is the magical,
the like blue one. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's basically the quickest way to get the magical sword.
Right.
So you have to I think you have to get like I think it's like 10 heart containers or something. So you have to kind of like strategize the best way to get the containers, you know.
Okay.
And you know, like so it's like different than playing the regular speed run. It's like a different way to approach it. So you have to kind of like do all the ones that are on the overworld map, plus you have to kind of strategically do certain levels in order to get the heart container after being the final boss. That was super fun.
That's cool.
So yeah, that actually I think my 100th game was Z2 and my 500th game was Legend of Zelda. So I kind of lined it up that way to kind of like, you know, I didn't want it to be like some weird like shareware kind of like, you know, throwaway game. Like I wanted to be like a legit game. Yes. Yeah. So kind of planned it accordingly that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then so what are you running right now?
So in September, so basically kind of like I said, I kind of like categorize stuff because if I don't, I'll go kind of crazy and it'll get really unorganized. So right now in September, I'm doing like a Disney sesh where I'm just doing all Disney related games. And the consoles are kind of all over the place. But last night I just started running Ducktales for the Game Boy.
Yes,
kind of coming full circle.
It looks very similar.
It's like
different enough.
Different enough where you're like, oh man, this is kind of a struggle. It's definitely a little jankier. It's definitely like even the maps are like it's a completely different course, you know, like there's elements like the levels are named the same, but they're all it's not the same pattern, not the same route at all.
I noticed there's like different things where you had to walk on the ceiling to get to some areas and that was unexpected.
Exactly. So like I really kind of like I just loaded it up last night. I watched a few runs in preparation. I was like, all right, let's just see what happens. But we got it done. Nice. Yeah, so I'm doing that all month, and then like October, like last October, I started doing Halloween stuff. So I got a bunch of Halloween games I'm planning on doing. November is going to be 2 years of speedrunning for me.
Nice.
So I want to try and do like a longer stream or something special. I haven't figured out exactly what I want to do. In December, I usually do like holiday, Christmas related type games too. So there's a bunch of like weird stuff like like the Santa Claus for the Game Boy Advance, like just weird games. Like I'm gonna try
Yeah.
like yeah,
The
like
GBA had
there,
so much shovelware.
yeah.
You're
I
like,
have
you
I
gotta play
have like
Elf.
I have a list of like 75 games for the Game Boy Advance that I
Yeah,
want to dig into because it's just like there's so much stuff. But yeah, there's like
so
a
much.
random Polar Express game on PlayStation, like just
Mm-hmm.
weird stuff I want to like really dig into.
That's exciting.
At that point, yeah. So and then in the new year, I want to do another like expanded console quest thing where I want to take on like another 10 different consoles.
Oh
You
wow.
know,
Yeah, because
like
there's a
just
lot
go
out
like
there.
yeah, like the Commodore 64, I haven't played anything for, like there's like a lot of the older stuff, some of the newer stuff. I want to try and like just expand more and keep going.
So you're in the 500s. You're shooting. Is there like any end in sight? You're just gonna keep playing games until you
Yeah,
decide you don't want to.
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like sometimes I'll get in like a rut where I'm like, is there anything else really want to play? I'm like, of course there is. Like
Yeah,
there's like an
there's so
endless
many
of like,
games.
what are you doing, dummy? Of course. Like just look at your list again, because I'll
Mhm.
just like dig into the deep unknown of like SRC and I find like all this random stuff, and I haven't even started doing like Steam and like PC gaming, or
You
even web-based stuff. Like I haven't even messed with any of that
you kind of don't
because
have
that's
to, because I
yeah,
mean,
like
you still have
because that like
CDI and Jaguar and
there's
3DO and
so
like so
much,
many
yeah,
random Saturn.
there's so
Like,
much stuff. I was like, if I go into Steam, I'm gonna fall down a rabbit hole that I'll
mm-hmm.
never be able to come out of. So like I want to be fully prepared and ready to get into that,
No,
So
that's a whole nother beast for sure.
yeah.
And then you run the risk of like things being re-released on Steam, and then you play them again just like before, and you're like, wait, I have played this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I did
Yeah. Like
this.
there's like so there's like I haven't played all the black box games yet for the NES. So
Mm,
like there's like I
that'd
want
be
to
a
get
fun.
through. Yeah, there's I think I have like six more out of the original 30
Oh,
that
you're
I haven't done.
close.
So like I'm like, all right, let me just like tie this up. But like some of them, like dude, Ice Climber and Slalom are like some of the scariest games for the NES to try and run.
Really?
They're like so like they're just like Slalom is excruciating. Like it's just like if you run out of time on the last level, like game over.
Oh wow,
Like
yeah, just that
go
brutal.
all the way back to the start. Like you don't get to retry that level until you get it done. Like nope, game over.
They
It's like,
wanted your
oof.
quarters then.
Yeah, it was brutal. So like, even that and like volley. Have you ever tried playing volleyball for the NES? It's like
No,
it's
I've seen
really
it, but
hard.
yeah, I've never played it.
It's like painfully hard. It's like, why is this game so hard? And I've just kind of been like avoiding it. I was like, all right, I got to get to it at some point. So
That's funny. Like one of the most difficult speedruns for me was Hello Kitty no Hanabatake, and it was just like, this shouldn't be this
dude,
hard, but it's a Hello Kitty game.
that game was tough. I guess when you add the speedrunning element to it, like it changes obviously the whole premise of the game. It's like a totally different game than just playing it casually.
Yeah, that
So
game taught me that the bottoms of my feet could sweat.
yeah.
Like, why am I
That was
so anxious?
yeah. Exactly. For a Hello Kitty game of all things. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then I have
Amazing.
that fear of like I'm afraid of heights, and then for some reason the levels that don't have floors, like I'm like,
yeah,
uh-oh, like that
this
fear
is
of, like,
terrifying. What
I don't want to lose
this
Hello
does not
Kitty
bode
to the
well.
floor demons.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Absolutely.
that was a great game though.
Was that the Salsa Shack thing? Was
Yeah.
that the springtime like flower thing?
Yeah, it was called
that was
Water My Plants or Wet My
yeah.
Plants. That was
That's
it.
what
Yeah, Salsa Shack, Wet My Plants.
yeah. Oh man, that was fun. I remember watching that. Everyone like just watching Noise Police just like lose his mind over a Hello Kitty game. I was like, this is amazing.
It was
This is
great
so
too because
fun.
Chuckles made controllers, so there was like prizes for first, second, and
Yeah,
third. And, I won a
that's a
Hello Kitty controller.
that's a good crew. That they were really nice to me for literally no reason. Like
Just
they
because they are nice, they're just
just because they're
great
just
group of
genuinely
people.
like Pico like he like posted some on Twitter one day. He's like, "Yo, check out Joe Pulito. He's like crushing games." And like, I was like, "I don't even know you, bro. Like, this is amazing. Like, why are you so nice?" And then like Pete, like what's his name? Peg Leg Pete
Mm-hmm.
made a wrestling avatar
Yeah, RSCW.
of me. I was like, bro, you don't like again, like you don't even know me. Why are you so nice? Like this is so crazy. Like the internet is such a wild place. Like that crew is great. I want to be more involved with them. I think they do such cool stuff, and it's just like community focused stuff, and they're always just promoting each other and helping each other out. I'm like, that's kind of what this whole thing is all about, right? I
Yep,
mean,
they embody
so
the
and
the
yeah,
ideal of the retro community. Just like we
yeah,
all grow together, we're all friends. Let's like root each other on and
yeah, and they're a
just
bunch of
have a fun
weirdos
time.
in the best way possible. Like like it's just like you find your like-minded weirdos, like, and you just
Yes,
kind of like all hang together. Like, this is great. Um,
definitely. Yeah, I
yeah,
this month they're doing Blue Marlin on the
yeah,
NES.
which Florida percentage is calling me. I feel like that's
Yeah,
kind of
and it's
I
short.
got.
You just do
Yeah,
Florida.
it's totally my vibe. Like, I could sit there and bang that out for an hour and probably do something. That's been on my list for a while, and this is actually probably a good excuse to give it
It's
a
a
run.
great
So
reason. I can't like
yeah,
usually because they used to do salsa sprints, which they
right.
would do
I did
like
a
the
few of those.
learn
They
like
were
for two
fun.
hours. Yeah, super fun. And so
Yeah,
generally like the goals they have are they're made to be accessible.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
what's nice is like
and
you don't have to
yeah,
grind for a month.
exactly. And Overswarm does them on a weekly basis
Just
too on
learn
Sundays.
quick, I think, or
Learn fast
learn
race. I did a few
fast.
of
That's
those when I was
better.
first getting started. I was like, this, it was a good. Like, I'm not like a race guy. Like, I don't
Hmm.
think I'm that good, to like, be to do it during a race. But like, I was like, this is a kind of a good way to get out of my comfort zone again, and like, interact with more people. And like, this is cool. And I did it a few times. It was super fun, and it was the same thing. He's just like, it's open to everyone, and he wasn't kidding. I was like, hey,
Uh,
I am very much a noob. You cool? Like me hanging? He's like, yeah, dude, come on, whatever. Like,
that's one of the
didn't
nice
even
things
bat.
about races too, is like you don't have to be the fastest. You have to be the most consistent, which then will turn into
Yeah.
maybe being the fastest, but like
Yeah,
just don't die.
I did exactly. Just don't die, man. I did the Great Gaps, the Salsa Shack, the Great Gatsby
Yes.
one. What
That
if
game
that
looked
talk about it?
fun.
Oh my
I
god,
didn't
so
play it. I
fun.
just watched everybody play it.
I remember I found it like maybe a year ago on SRC, but there was only a web version of it.
Yeah.
So I was like, why? Oh, this sucks. Like, why is it stuck on an old JavaScript that you can't even access the website anymore? Like, it's just it's just like, oh, but there's like this one run of it. I was like, this game looks so dope. And then out of nowhere on Twitter, someone posted like, yo, they found the ROM, or they were able to get a ROM for the Great Gatsby. I was like, let's go. I was like,
Yes.
and then it just like went crazy. Everyone was really into it. And it was like, cause it's like a 4-minute run or whatever.
Yeah, super
Like, it's
short.
like quick. It's quick. It's like, but it's the perfect amount of platforming and RNG and just all this fun and lag reduction. Like, it has all those cool, fun elements that, in that short time frame. And then when people started optimizing, like Zark was getting in there and Beard Strike was getting in there. It was like, dude, this is
just
like
break that game down.
oh my god, this is amazing. Like, just watching them go at it, like, so fun. So
That is one of the things I really like about speedrunning in general is like you can take from it whatever you want. You could try to be the fastest if that's what you want, or just learn to what like this is where I'm comfortable. I'm moving on. Like there's no expectation. It's you against you.
exactly, it's you against the game, essentially. Like, it's
definitely.
like and that was the one thing that I found interesting was like, like there's competitive sports and things like that where people are kind of battling each other, the teams are battling each other and for first place or this anything. And I was like really blown away by how that was not the case, at least in the retro side of speedrunning, where it was like, hey, I found a new strategy to go faster.
Right.
I'm going to tell everyone what it is. I'm going to share the information. I was like, wait, that's like, you might not be first place if you share that information. And it's like, that's not the goal here. The goal is to optimize, and it's us against the game.
Exactly.
So like,
and there's
yeah.
There's also an element of like, if I share with you the information that I have, you're going to take that information and try to implement it, right? This might lead to you finding something different that I didn't know.
Exactly.
Like,
and it's like,
share your knowledge.
It's almost like it's almost like a science where like people like share, like they're trying to cure it, like it's like it's better to share the information for the greater good. And that's the part that blew me away about this whole thing. I was like, this is not what I'm used to.
All right.
Yeah,
people
in my
information. I'm the best. I'm gonna stay
like
the best.
like I work in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
It is a nasty cesspool, man. Like, it's ugly at times. And this is like a nice change of pace where like this. Yeah.
It also proves it doesn't have to be that way.
No,
there's still going to be the people who are the best at the thing, whatever it is. Like it's inevitable. You just allowed them to maybe get there quicker. Like, I mean,
yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, like there's like, I like Zarkonis comes at me like every night. Like, you know, like he basically, he full on, he's like, dude, I go through your list of games and I find new games to play and I beat all your times. I'm like, that is awesome.
Yes.
Like, that's rad, because like
Yes.
you're putting in the work, and, you know, I played it to get the board set up, and maybe I just, like, you know, not lost interest because like I got other stuff I'm going to move on to, but then he goes in and like optimizes the hell out of it,
Yeah.
you know, and like there'd be times like Steve Zero, same thing. Like I'd be playing a game one night and he'd be like hanging out in the chat and he's offline playing the game as well.
Yes.
He's like, this game's dope. And he's like, oh dude, I just beat your time. I'm like, that's amazing. Like
Yes,
I'd accomplish, I'd get like, let's say I get like a world record that night. I'd wake up and Stevie Z broke it like a half hour later because he was just like in there, like grinding it out even further. And I was like, that's dope. Like,
yeah,
that's rad.
amazing.
Like, keep it going, you know? But yeah, that's the part that blew me away. Yeah. It's just like, so the camaraderie and just the community aspect of it. Like I said, it reminds me of like the punk scene I grew up in, the DIY punk scene, where like everyone, all the bands were helping each other out, helping like find tours and like, you know, trade shows with everybody in different areas. Like, it's the same kind of vibe with this, and it's really cool, you know, to be a part of it.
And those are like the places you really want to spend time. I mean, in my opinion, those are the places I want to spend time. It's one of the reasons I fell in love with jujitsu. It's very similar. It's like, the only way I get better is if you get better.
Right.
So I'm going to help you get better.
Thing. Like, it's very positive for the most part. You know, like there's plenty of people, there's some
you can't
minor
remove
toxicity.
All of it. Yeah.
But I mean, like overall, I mean, like it is like a utopia compared to like other things.
I originally started streaming in competitive shooters, and like there were awesome people, don't get me wrong, but overwhelmingly the community was not retro. It was not the same welcoming. Like it was very toxic.
Yeah.
Then I took a very long break and then came back and fell into retro, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, no, it's a really fun way to spend the little free time I have, you know. And my big thing, especially when it was COVID times and like quarantine, was like, you know, I'd spend my days during, you know, in the before times, like interacting with people on a daily basis from all over the world, that I would meet new people every day, and that got just pulled away during quarantine.
Yeah.
So this was a way where I could still kind of do that. You know, whether it be, you know, it's, you know, via the internet, but there's still this interaction, you know, this social aspect that I lacked during quarantine. I was able to get that back in a different way.
Yeah.
But it was really rewarding and fulfilling, and it continues to grow, and it's just really awesome. Not to sound like a hippie, you know, but like it's just like really like, you know, like just it's good vibes, man. It's just
100%.
Like really good vibes.
I mean, I am that hippie. Yeah, because the same, you know, I was similar. Started because quarantine, and I couldn't go to jujitsu, and I needed something else that like felt challenging but not crazy. And yeah, I started. My first time I submitted May 2020 Ninja Gaiden. It was like 21-minute time, and
dude, that's way better than my first Ninja Gaiden time. So
it took me 2 months to get there.
Yeah. So Ninja Gaiden was one of those games where I was like, there is no way, because I didn't play that as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, like I knew it existed, but like I didn't like, you know. Then as I got into speed running and like that whole thing, I was like, this game is so hard. Like this game is, I don't know how they're doing it. And there's like, my hands will never be able to do anything like this. Like I just kind of ruled it out.
Yeah.
And then I set like as kind of a joke, I set a community challenge where I was like, all right, for like 100,000 points.
It's something that you're like, nobody's gonna get there.
No one's gonna watch me that long. I'll grind Ninja Gaiden out. Like I'll give it a month. I'll grind it out.
Nice.
And someone did, and Cyphers got to 100K, and we kind of made a pact. And he goes, you listen, if I get to 100K, I'm gonna do it, and I'll do it with you. You know, like nice, I'll so we're suffering together.
Yes, exactly. I'll endure this hate with you.
Yeah, and so I first did the redemption. I was like, all right. So I spent July doing Ninja Gaiden, and so I first did it with me. And Kumakan hopped in too.
Nice.
Which is dope. So I had someone to go along with. And then, you know, and then like KB and Black Squall and like that whole crew, the whole Ninja Gaiden crew, helped out big time.
Yeah.
Even Retro Runner popped in and, you know, like just helped me out big time. Cross was in there too. And I ended up getting it down to like 16,
That's a
30 or
solid
something.
time. Yeah.
I was extremely content. I
That's a
was like,
solid time for
I
sure.
was like, I am totally okay with this. And it was definitely, it was repetition. Like, you've been through that game, but
Nothing's
it was
unlearnable,
way,
but yeah, you just
yeah.
got.
I'll tell you, it was way more fun than I thought it was going to be. And as far as like speed running, it definitely gave me not confidence, but maybe like, okay, you know what? I can try other things and it's not going to be the end of the world,
Right.
like, because
Yeah.
that one was super intimidating.
Yeah.
That one scared the crap out of me.
It's fair.
But that was cool.
I remember, yeah, when I told my friend, because I had watched a friend play NES games. I was like, well, how do I learn to do this? He's like, pick a game you love. Just keep playing it. Like,
Yeah.
you'll get better. I was like, all right, I'm going to play Ninja Gaiden. And he just laughed. He's like, okay, you're just going right for it. I'm like,
Yeah, like just go,
I said, pick a
go
game
right
I
to the
love. I
wolves.
don't know what else to do.
Yeah, like I did, like, and that's the thing, like a lot of the games that I'm playing now, I don't have any background in. Like I
Right.
didn't have that nostalgia even to a lot of this stuff. So like I'm in uncharted territory and just kind of learning things out there. And Ninja Gaiden was one of those too. Like I didn't have it as a kid. I didn't play it. So like, but I watched a ton of speedruns of it up until that
Right.
point. So like, but it was funny, even talking to Cypher first, he's like, I probably watched Arcus and KB and Retro Runner and all these guys play this game for I can't even tell you how many hours. None of it sunk in.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like none, because watching it and actually doing it with your fingers,
It's a
completely different
thing.
thing. Yeah, so like you can see him with, oh yeah, I remember when he did that part. I have no idea how he did it.
Yeah.
So like it's like I still got to figure it out.
But also,
But
it's
yeah,
like watching into the mindset of like you want to learn it as opposed to like this is entertainment. Like your
yeah,
brain is using a different part of itself where it's like, all right, if you're just
absolutely. It's not
enjoying, like,
digesting
yeah,
it the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're like running out of time. 10 minutes left on Zoom. All right, Zoom, chill. They're trying to get me to buy their thing. I see you.
All good, man. All
um,
good.
yeah, that's really cool. That's how Batman was for me. I did,
Ooh,
I was just kind of doing, Salsa Shack sparked it in a way with all their events. I was like, all right, I'm going to do months. So
yeah.
I had been grinding Ninja Gaiden for a while, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to alternate Batman, Ninja Gaiden, and Super Castlevania 4 and just rotate months. And
Those are heavy hitters, man.
I like what I like.
Yeah.
I guess I like hard games.
That is, I mean, good for you. Kudos. Those are kudos. That's good. Good for you. But my
I'm
God,
just stubborn. So I see a
yeah.
thing, and when people say it's hard, I'm like, bet, I
No, it
got
isn't.
you.
No, it
Yeah.
isn't. Yeah,
Nothing's
I'm gonna prove you
unlearnable.
wrong.
Yeah. You just hold forward, right? I could do that.
Great.
No, I love that though. I love that you're like adventuring off into other consoles, random consoles, and just
Yeah, I mean, my like the
finding new
big thing.
loves.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Like I like, kind of like how I used to discover bands back in the day, and even today. Like I like if I find something that not many people are into, I want to get other people into it because I feel like it deserves attention or whatever. Like I just
Right.
feel like, and that's kind of what I try and do with speedrunning too. It's like there's a ton of games that, especially the homebrews and just like on the more obscure consoles, it's like I just want people to learn about it. It's not like I have this giant network or anything, but if I can if I can set up a speedrunning board, at least it's somewhere. At least
Right.
there's
Yeah.
documentation of it existing, and someone may be able to stumble upon it and then play it at some point.
Yeah. For
So that's
sure.
kind of
I
that's
love
kind of
that.
the idea, like that I like to kind of pursue with this stuff too. Kind of find, like, because plenty of people are playing some of these classic games, and I like playing those too, but like I think there's as I started digging deeper, I was like, there is so much untapped stuff out there that I feel like I want to help contribute that way.
I love that. And you're laying the groundwork for people who might be interested in that game. Maybe they grew up with the game. And I'm sure there are times where people look and then there's no board and they're like, well, I don't know how to create a board. I don't want it. And so they
Right.
just don't do it.
Yeah. No, I remember the first time I did that, I was like, this is like, how did that even happen? I was like, oh, okay, I guess, like, then I kind of just, I don't know, I probably added like 50 something plus,
That's
I
awesome.
lost how many games I've actually added to SRC, but it's just really fun, and I like that kind of exploration vibe to it,
Yeah.
and
And then also
research vibe.
you give people a reference point. Like, look at this is what I was able to do. You can start with that
Yeah,
and find new
yeah.
things
Have
or
have a blast blowing this time out of the water. Like just go at it. Like this is far from optimized. Just go to it. So
yes, take the world record, please.
yeah.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see like what else you do. And do you have any plans on revisiting games? Or you're just gonna keep heading
Yeah,
forward
like
and
yeah, I mean, majority of the time it's usually plow
yeah,
ahead. But like there's like some kind of weeks I'll go back and I'll be like, all right, yeah, I can do that better. And I'm not as content with the time, or like I'll like let
right.
me just let me get a deathless run and like let me get it like a little more optimized. And I do that from time to time, sure. It's usually for all the different consoles I go back and try and figure it out every once in a while. But yeah, the main focus is
And full
going
steam
forward.
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to keep the game count total up and just kind of explore and experience new stuff.
So with DuckTales last night, are you going to be continuing DuckTales or are you going to move on to another game?
Yeah, I'll probably do a little bit more tonight. I might jump into DuckTales 2 because of the same thing. Like I'm in the DuckTales mindset. So I'm like, all right, might as well try the other one, which again is completely different than the NES version.
Right.
There's a bunch of weird Game Boy Advance stuff for at Disney, like
Tons of
just
that.
like Disney sports games. Like there's a Disney sports football. I'm like, who?
Skateboarding,
Yeah,
football,
like
yeah,
who
soccer.
who bought this? I'm not
Yep.
trying to talk crap on these games. It's like this is like I think they're fun, but I'm like who was walking through Toys R Us or whatever and said that's what I want. That's
That's,
what
I
I'm getting now.
mean, we all make weird decisions. I remember
Everyone
being
likes things
young
for
and
different reasons. Yeah.
treat like I think I was so mad at Battletoads that I lied to my mom and said I beat
Oh.
it and it was like 2 days and then I traded it for Tommy Lasorda baseball on the Genesis.
Yes, yes.
Like why was that the move? I don't
That Tony Lasorda was a big deal. That was like I remember when I was thinking about buying a Genesis. I had my like 3 list. Like these are the 3 games I want first. Tony Lasorda was totally like near the top of that list, and I was like because that was like the go-to baseball
yes.
game for the system, like for
It
whatever
was
reason.
good. Yeah.
I
That's
mean, at
so
that point, he was a household name. He was slinging Slim Fast, and he was like, like doing the whole, he was a big deal. So,
oh my gosh.
too funny.
So what is your stream schedule? Do you
So I
have it?
usually do, yeah, it's relatively consistent depending on the week, but it's usually 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Thursday, and I
Nice.
usually go for about hour and a half, 2 hours, depending, somewhere around there. But it's usually Monday through Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So when you can find me.
Cool. I think yeah. I think that's all I have. I mean we could put in a good hour. I feel like I could
Yeah,
sit
nah,
and talk
dude.
to you all day
Yeah,
though. Like
yeah,
we kept
yeah.
sitting down for sound checks. I'm like,
And we just kept going like, yo, let's save this for the actual, 10:30. Yeah,
exactly. I had that in the
yeah,
back of my mind. I'm like, yeah, but I want to know now.
yeah, yeah. No, well, listen, man, I appreciate you hanging out. This was super fun, and I appreciate everything you're doing with the retro, the news stuff, the week in retro. I think it's really cool. I think
Thank
I
you.
told you last night when we were doing the sound check, like this whole community thing, like this is like what you're doing is such a besides your speedrunning thing, which is on a whole nother level. This part of it is super cool and great for the community because you're highlighting all this fun stuff that people might not know about. And like I said to you when we were doing sound check, it kind of I equated to when I was in the DIY scene growing up. Like it's like there was these zines that people would make where they would
Yeah.
highlight all these bands you never heard of, and if they were coming through on tour or new releases and do this, like it's the same thing. You're highlighting all the stuff that you think needs attention, and you're taking your time. It's a labor of love, and you're gunning out there and you're doing all this work, and I think it's awesome, and I appreciate
That means a lot, man, because it is
it.
a labor of love. It's a lot of work, but it's
Yeah,
like if it gets even one new person to go to the wherever it is, like if then go check
yeah,
out Salsa Shack, go check out a new streamer, go like that's worth it to
absolutely.
me. Like
It's huge. I saw like I hopped in your Discord. I saw Darth was dropping a bunch of retro news. That dude's the
yes,
best. I
Darth
love
has
that
got
guy.
he's an infinite well of knowledge when it comes
Yeah,
to like NES stuff and just,
he reached out to me one day. Like he connected with me via Twitch. He just like I think I submitted a time for this homebrew game called Indivisible or something like
uh,
that. And he reached out to me because he was on the board as well. And I guess he kind of like saw what I was doing. He's like, dude, like he does these reviews where he basically like just goes through the entire catalog of
yeah.
a console and just like plays the game for a few minutes, and this goes like kind of keeps track. Does this have a board? Does this not have a board? And like does this research, and I'm like, dude, this is exactly what I'm into. And he like we connected and just hit it off immediately because like this dude gets it.
He's
And he's
doing
like,
amazing work as well because like the games
yeah,
that don't have boards, he's like figuring out strats and making
yep,
boards and like
call it Darthimizing.
Yeah,
Dude,
just
he
setting
is
the
the
tone.
Darth optimize. He goes hard into those games. Dude, he's like a genius. He's
Yeah,
like on a whole nother level,
for
like with his
sure.
thought process. And
When
I
you
think
watch him
he's
break
just,
down a game,
yeah. Oh my God. And like, how did, like, again, my brain doesn't even work that way. Like, I just, like, I can't even feel like, how did you find a glitch? Like, how does one even do that? Like, how much time do you spend like jumping into different corners of the game and doing different inputs at the time? Like, it's just fascinating to me. Like like I said, my brain just doesn't even work that way. So to see someone do that, I just give them so much credit because it's so badass. I'm just not
yeah.
designed that way.
Yeah, and it's needed. We appreciate it. It's like
Yeah.
Noise Police does the same thing. Noise Police loves to like glitch
Again,
hunt and figure out strats.
His brain's on a totally different level than mine, and I just like a mad scientist in the best way possible. Like, this is so cool. I want to just hop in there for a second, just like take a look around and see what's going on in here because
I get trapped.
Yeah,
it's a labyrinth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate you so much. And like I had told you before, I wanted to do an episode of This Week in Retro, but then a friend of mine, JonnyKage, was like, "Hey, do you do interviews?" And I'm like, "I know the perfect person for the first interview." And yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate taking the time and just hanging out. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I had fun. This is great.
For sure.
I look forward to your month of Disney because I am a Disney freak. I'm that weirdo.
Nice.
But
yeah, there's a ton of games I didn't even know about, so I'm pretty excited to dig in.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you again, especially on short notice too. I mean,
yeah,
the fact that you were super down and we just threw this together, I think
absolutely
great.
No worries, man.
Yeah, thank you again. Take care.
No worries, man. Cheers.
Right. Cheers. See ya.
Later.
Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. The one thing you can't get back is your time, so thank you for spending it here. But also, go give our friend Joe Pulito a follow on Twitch. I love you all, and I'll see you next time.